Welcome to At the Clubhouse. My name is Bruce Van Dusen. I am the Executive Director of Polaris House. And we are located in Juneau, Alaska, and we're coming to you from the Juneau Live Studio. And we're glad you're here today. We're thankful that you tuned in, and we have a good show for you. We're going to continue our conversation on Polaris House, who we are and what we do. I know that I had mentioned in the last episode that we are going to present the history of the Clubhouse movement, Clubhouse International, and the 37 Standards of Operation, and we are going to do that. We need more prep time for that one. So we're going to continue with our conversation from the first episode and continue to talk about who we are as Polaris House and what we do and what our mission is. So please keep in mind that we work with adults ages 18 and older who are living with a major mental illness diagnosis, and we provide the best therapy that you can get. And it has a proven record of working for decades, and that's meaningful activity and paid employment. The therapy that we provide also combats the number one negative indicator of mental health, which is isolation. And I would hazard a guess to say that most of us, over the course of the past 14 months, have considered more isolation than we're used to. So it's more important than ever that we're here doing what we do. First up, I'm going to have a board member with us, and our board member is going to talk a little bit more about how they became interested in the Polaris House board and what they do as a board member. And then we're going to introduce a couple of our staff to you, and they're going to talk about programs and services. So with that, I'd like to introduce Bradley Perkins. And Bradley Perkins is one of our board members. Welcome, Bradley, and thanks for being here today.
Oh, thank you, Bruce. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk about Polaris House.
Yeah, so the first question is, why did you choose to be a board member of Polaris House?
Yeah, that's a good question. I sit on a number of nonprofit boards, and I've done that for many, many years. And I get invited to join boards reasonably often, being an attorney who specializes in corporate and nonprofit law, and I do form nonprofit corporations for people. And so it's not uncommon that I get asked to join. I don't take every offer I get because there's liability associated with it, a lot of work. So, but Polaris House, I was really happy to be asked and to join because I believe in what they do. I've seen before I joined, I saw what they were doing. I have worked with the people, the homeless and those with mental illness since 1999. When I met my second wife after my first wife passed away, my current wife is Pastor Karen Perkins, who is the pastor of this church. She's worked with the homeless as a San Francisco night minister, working on the streets of San Francisco, and so through her I've done a lot of that work too, and really is a tough challenge working with those with mental illness. And those on the street, generally, that's pretty much, most of the, if you don't have mental illness when you end up on the streets, you pretty soon will. And that certainly isn't, that doesn't describe why, I mean, not all Polaris House members have are on the street and homeless, but it's, Polaris House's approach to helping people is just fantastic, working, not trying to address everyone in the world, but having a clubhouse approach where people can join, become members, and starting and working on that is just a fantastic model. And I've seen it work, and I've seen, how people get better, and having people belong somewhere. Working one-on-one on the streets has disadvantages, and being able to bring people into where they believe they're part of a family is just, so important. And so, in my work, my previous position, I encountered Hazel, and I encountered Roy Anderson, who I eventually stole away from Polaris House from you, who was looking for, you and I agreed was ready for a new challenge. It was a good introduction to the work you were doing, and I was just really glad to be able to join.
Great, thank you. Appreciate that endorsement of the work that we do, and that we are effective, and it's a great way to help people. So that's a pretty deep dive into our philosophy. So what do you do as a board member?
Well, yeah, I think different board members do different things. I think what's nice about Polaris House is that you can people can contribute, according to their strengths. I saw on last week's show, Brad Cure, the other Brad on the board, contributes through his business acumen, and also the fact he's the landlord, and the fact that he can contribute through what he can add to Polaris House in the terms of building and adding things that way. I contributed, my skills are in helping with, legal issues and things like that, nonprofit experience. Also, I do a lot of marketing stuff. So when we have an event and things like that, I'll offer to do the posters or help with produce materials or ad copy and things like that. And those are the kind of things I like to do, things where I feel I can add some value to the board and things like that.
Great, that's wonderful. Thank you so much for that. And I do remember when Roy went to work for you, and he was talking about how difficult his new job was, and he told me that he thought that his new job was a lot harder than the one that he had had at Polaris House. And my response to him was, well, I guess you just weren't doing your job right here, because the work can be incredibly difficult.
It's true.
At this time, that employment position is open at Polaris House, and we're looking for someone to fill that full-time work. And if you're interested, we'd love to have you come down and visit with us and put in an application and a resume. And we're at 434 West Willoughby Avenue, and our phone number is 780-6775. So don't be bashful. If you're interested at all, please talk to us.
Yeah, and I hear Bruce is great to work for, and the next two, I think the next two guests on the show can testify to that, or they can tell you not to come.
I have to be careful, because they get paid to say whatever I want them to say.
Oh,
No.
that's true, that's true, that's true. So take it with a grain of salt.
Take it with a grain of salt, there you go. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna move on to our next guest. Before we do, I wanted to remind everyone that we focus on 4 rights of membership, which is a safe place, a place to belong, a right to meaningful activity, a right to meaningful relationships, and a place to always return to. And those 4 things, especially the meaningful activity, have proven over time to be the best for mental health recovery. That meaningful activity instills hope, it improves self-esteem, and instills a sense of purpose. And as many of us have experienced isolation over the last 14 months, Polaris House also is an avenue out of isolation, because we know that isolation is so detrimental to poor mental health. And Bradley mentioned homeless populations. I don't know if you ever think about it, but when a person is homeless, they're very completely isolated. They're very much alone. Even if they're with a group of people or they're with that special someone, they're still isolated. And I say that as a formerly homeless person. But it's not about me today. So we're going to introduce Steve Wilson. Steve Wilson is the executive assistant at Polaris House, and his job is to engage members and complete the admin work, which he's going to tell you about. So welcome, Steve. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Great. So why don't you start and tell us what your job is?
First of all, we do the admin unit, and what we do in the admin unit is kind of like accounting type of business. We do debit reports and payroll and deposit reports, and just everything that has to do with like financial stuff within the clubhouse.
So what we have a very strong philosophy about inclusion. How do the members fit in with that work?
Well, we work side by side with all the members, of course. We actually get the members in there to do the work as we're sitting there with them. And if they have questions or they need something explained to them, then we're right there.
Exactly, and that's what that's one of the things that we think about when we refer to meaningful activity.
Right.
Right. The work that you do in admin with the members, payroll, banking reports, and many different things, faxing materials, taking care of filing tax papers, and it's really, really important work. It's very important to the survival and the operation and the enhancement of the Polaris House community. So when the member participates in that, they're very much involved in meaningful activity.
Right.
And that activity can really help unlock potential, and that member can use their skills
Right, it
and their
really
talents
boosts
to
their
get
morale.
that done. Yeah, it's one of the things I was thinking about when we were talking to Bradley. Members are involved in all aspects of our work. In the last episode, we introduced Daryl. Daryl Wilkerson is the vice president of our board of directors, but he's also been a Polaris House member since 2009. So members are involved in everything.
Right.
So that's the only way that we can complete our mission. So the other thing is that you're doing now is you're helping out with the employment unit too. So can you speak to that for a minute?
Yeah, in the employment unit, which of course is one of the more important units because that's one of the pathways to recovery. We have 3 different sections of the employment unit. We have the transitional employment, the supported employment, and the independent employment. With the transitional employment, it goes 12 to 20 hours a week, 6 to 9 months in duration. That would be for members that haven't been in the workforce for a long time and just need a foot in, so we can guide them into more productive work, you know. So also in the TE program, if a member is having an issue one of the days, we as staff can fill in for that position, or we can go and help that member get through the day and find out how we can help them succeed at what they're doing.
Right. Excellent. So paid employment is very important. Paid work does a lot for a person, not just with their mental health, but with their status in the community and their pocketbook. It can have a positive impact on a person's budget, and that's very helpful. But meaningful activity takes many different forms. It takes as many different forms as there are people. I remember being at the Fountain House in New York in 2004. It was my first training at an international training base, and they assigned me to the dining room and kitchen unit. So I had to show up every morning and start cutting bread because we served 350 lunches, and you had to have a slice of bread with each lunch. So I cut a lot of bread in the mornings. But I remember one fellow that I met there that was very new at Clubhouse himself, and we got to talk, and I got to know him a little bit because we worked together in the unit. And so I moved through my training and have gone on with my career and doing my work. I believe it was back in 2018. I was back at Fountain House in New York, and I was sitting with one of the Fountain House staff at the dining room table, and we were getting ready to have lunch. That same person that I met in 2004 came by and was bussing the table, and I recognized him, and I was like, wow, it's like 15 years later, here you are, you're still in the Clubhouse. And we got a chance to talk, and he talked about some of the things that he'd been doing. His definition of meaningful activity was to be in the Clubhouse, working in the dining and kitchen unit, and that really meant the world to him. And that had helped him maintain good mental health for a long time.
All right.
So it's very important, very important. That connection is what keeps us healthy. All right. Anything else that you want to add?
And then
Got
that's
it?
about it.
Great, thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
So, we're gonna move on to our next guest. He's kind of tall, he hit the boom mic. We're gonna move on to our next guest. It's Hazel LeCount. Hazel's been with us almost as long as I've been there. It's been a deal. She has quite a story of her own. But today, she's gonna talk about the work that she does in Polaris House with the housing unit, and she's also helping today to describe the culinary unit activity. So welcome, Hazel, and thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So go ahead, and kind of just get into talking about what you do in the housing unit and how you make that happen.
Our housing unit, we work directly with our members. When a member shows signs of becoming homeless or comes in and is homeless, they work directly with me. I have built a lot of relationships throughout the community that allow me to a lot of times place our members right away. We don't just, I lost it. I have to know more about a person than I'm homeless, get me a place to live. We have to work with the Community Alaska Housing Finance to get vouchers. A lot of our members have got no income or Social Security benefits, and that doesn't leave a lot of wiggle room in this community of Juneau. A low-income housing apartment will run you approximately $1,100. Well, most of our members, like I said, have got Social Security, and that is $11.50 a month. So we have to find vouchers that will assist them to live independently. And if their vouchers aren't available, we have to work with the subsidized living. And we have to be able to break barriers that have a person might have occurred throughout their lifetime, evictions, and maybe a criminal background. So we have to really know what barriers a person faces. We not only work with finding them a place to live, we have to the furniture that goes into their housing. If somebody is in need, they're in need all the way around. And so we have to work directly with all of the community in order to make that happen. I have been involved in the Juneau Coalition of Housing and Homelessness for some years now, and I work very closely with the navigators here in Juneau. And if I run into brick walls trying to house someone, I turn to the navigators and I turn to the other community supports in this town. And it's been very rewarding.
Yes, great. And yeah, I agree with you. You know, the work that you began to do with Polaris House on housing has morphed into being involved with the entire community to work on housing for everyone. You won an award, Women of Distinction through Aware, here a couple of years ago for your efforts and what you've accomplished. And that's wonderful to see you at that ceremony and being acknowledged in that way.
Thank you. I won that award last year in March, and I was extremely honored. That took my breath away. I had
Yeah,
no idea.
Yep, that's great. Yep, it's certainly a wonderful thing. So how about the culinary unit? What's going on with that?
The culinary unit, we have a lunch every day that is, I try to say, balanced. It's a $2 lunch, and members work side by side with the culinary specialist, whoever that might be, to prepare the lunches, to buy the food for the lunches. We start with a menu every Wednesday, and the members and the staff sit down and they make a menu for the following week. And the next day, members go with staff and purchase all the food. We work very closely with the food bank of Southeast Food Bank, and so we are able to keep our costs down, and so we can serve a $2 lunch. But the work done in the kitchen is side by side. Members and staff are working together and building relationships while they're in there. I've worked with one gentleman for a number of years now I've seen him grow from so much in the last 4 or 5 years. But he's worked with me almost every day for the last, 6 years? And so
So, yeah, so that touches back on the right to a meaningful relationship. And it's been so important in that person's life because they have a connection.
Yes.
They have friends, a place where they go that's safe. Anything else that you'd like to add?
we also, we have activities, like on Mondays, we try to bake something for the snack bar, which we have a small snack bar that when members can purchase a cup of coffee for $0.25 or a pastry for $0.25. And it's not so much the money that they're spending on the pastry, it is the meaningful relationships that are developed while making that pastry. And the members enjoy it. We all do. We have fun, and sometimes flour gets tossed around a little bit, but it's fun.
Great, thank you. So, just thinking about the work that we're doing and what members do, it's so important to have members working side by side with us in every aspect of the work. The culinary unit's a great example of that. Honestly, there's been a time when we haven't had members in to make lunch, and I get stuck with a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
I
But
cringe.
the upside to that is when the members do come in, we have wonderful meals. We have stir fries, and we have baked chicken and baked pork chops, and we have really great meals. They've come to know that my favorite meal is hot dogs and macaroni and cheese. So, so members who plan the menu usually put that on the menu at least a couple times a month. So that's a nice thing.
Well, you will be glad to know that probably next week we will have baked pork chops.
Oh, nice.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah. So it really is a great way for meaningful work and meaningful relationships in the kitchen. You know, the work's very important. And one of the aspects of that importance is our members' personal budgets.
Yes.
They can buy a meal ticket that's good for an entire month. And correct me if I'm wrong, but those are still $30 for the month.
$30.
Where are you gonna get lunches for the entire month for $30? So that does help their budget and provides them with a meal, but at the same time, it provides them an opportunity to socialize and connect with each other and have meaningful relationships during the lunch.
Yes.
So it's a very good social activity. It's a cost saver, it's a relationship builder, and it's meaningful activity. So the kitchen plays a very, very important role in helping us meet our mission. One of the other things that we do in the kitchen is that the members or staff that work in the kitchen have to have at least a minimum of the food worker card.
Oh, yeah.
And we also have opportunities for members to participate in food safety manager training. And those who can achieve that, that's a very handy certification to have for employment, really to a higher paying job, which is something that we've found. You know, there's always a balance between the SSI and how much money am I gonna make if I do go to work, you know? So there's always that question to answer, and additional training and certifications help place that person in a position where they can go to work and it's profitable. It's something that's worthwhile from that aspect.
Yes.
Great. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Thank you for having me.
Just a few closing remarks. I know that there have been some things in the past year and a half or so that have been very difficult for all of us. And we want our members to know that we're here. We're here for you, and please come in and be with us. There's a fair number of members who already come in and are with us every day, but we do know that there's a few members in the community that we would like to see you more often, because we're your friends and we want to see you and we want to be with you, and it's very important. Oh boy, I'm trying to think. Do I need to say anything else? One of the things that we talk about are these meaningful relationships with members and working side by side with them with all aspects of the clubhouse. And that's what we have to do. We're doing these episodes, and in the first episode, Daryl was there. Daryl's a member. And it's very important for us to have members involved in these episodes so that you meet the Polaris House member and hear it from them in their own words what's going on and what they've got from the Polaris House and what they're giving to the community of Juneau. So in our next episode, which I believe will air on Saturday, May 29th, there's not going to be an episode on the 22nd, but on May 29th, we're going to work to have a representative from Clubhouse International on for a few minutes, and we're gonna work to have members who have completed the trainings at the international training bases with us for that episode and really get into what are the members doing with Clubhouse International and with training, and what are they able to bring to their communities when they're able to complete that. I don't think I have anything else. So with that, I'm going to say thank you for watching. We do appreciate having an audience. We hope that you're getting a lot of information about Polaris House, who we are, what we do in Juneau, and that you're interested in us. And there are ways to participate and contribute. Just come on down, and we'll talk to you about what we're doing, and you can make up your own mind about how you want to participate. So with that, I'm going to say good afternoon. Please remember to hit like and subscribe. We'd appreciate it. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.